Okay, class, welcome back to English 2333. We're going to take up where we went off last time. Last time, we had a great lecture. We finished the preface. We talked about the overall overview of world literature. We talked about the history of it. We got into Jonathan Swift. I gave you some questions to think about for Gulliver's Travels, and we're going to certainly finish up with those today. One of the things I want to do, class, is let's look at the course policies and calendar right now, and we'll talk about what's going to be happening this week and as we move forward. Class, you see that on the 17th it says we're going to enter into this zone called conferences. So I want to talk about what those are going to entail, class. And then it says conferences for February 24th to the 31st. So we have some time to get these done. I want to talk about what they are, how we're going to proceed with them. Class, if you go to page 2 in your course policies and calendar, it says up top on page 2, this is what you're going to do. It says during the semester, each student will make a 15 to 20 minute oral presentation to the class on an author or work we will discuss during that period. Now, during that period, we mean the period that's allotted for it in the class on the course policies and calendar. So, the student's presentation might be limited to the writer's impact on history, cultural, or literary trends in his or her period. That's in his or her period of time of when they were alive. Or a comparison and contrasting the major authors' works and motives within and across periods. In addition, the student might choose to explain key elements of the lives and art of individual writers or analyze the works in their historical and universal context. Each presentation, however, will include a brief biography of the writer and will be graded partially on the effectiveness of the presentation. Although props aren't required, students are encouraged to use them if their presentations will benefit from them. And this is what we're going to start working towards this week. All oral presentation topics will be approved ahead of time by the instructor during a conference with the student. So you are going to send me, once again, a one-page pitch of what you want to do. An idea, rough, double-spaced, one page of what you think you may want to do for your oral presentation. So, March 10th through 12th, we're going to have a midterm. I'm going to prepare you for that. It won't be anything that we haven't discussed or that we haven't gone over through my lectures or in class. Then we'll have a spring break. The spring break this year is going to take us through St. Patrick's Day, okay? And then when we come back from the spring break, class, we're going to start these conferences. So, and I will post this for you, this paperwork, tomorrow, by tomorrow, so you can have an idea of what's going on. Let me make a note here. And let's talk about the sign-up sheet for these conferences. So, when we look back to the course policies and calendar, we'll see that right after spring break, we're going to start these oral presentations starting on March 23rd, once again, through the 27th. So, let's look at these. Now, on this sign-up sheet, hold on one second, class. Had to get a little extra light in here. Okay, so now this sign-up sheet that I have here that I will send to you corresponds with the possibilities for these oral presentations. So if we look after spring break, we're going to have March 23rd to 27th. Anton Chekhov will be what we're going to be dealing with when in our textbook, the great Russian writer Chekhov. So during that week, I'm going to have an opportunity for 3 oral presentations during that week, and I'll send this to you. But you can take this down now. One of the possibilities for that week would be a student to make a presentation, 15 to 20 minute presentation, following the oral presentation guidelines on our course policies and calendar. One student during that week has the opportunity to make a presentation called Anton Chekhov, a biography. Okay? Or that week, a student could do a presentation. These are the exact topics of what the student's going to do, can do a presentation on the cherry orchard. Okay? Chekhov, short stories / fiction. So those are the exact titles, and I will send those to you tomorrow in a handout, this sign-up sheet. Okay? And you think about what you want to do. So that's March 23rd to 27th. Now, what the student is going to send me is you decide, say once again, I want to do a little research, and I think I want to do a presentation on Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard, his great play about modern or aspects of modern Russia for the time. Okay? You would write up a 1-page summary on how you're going to approach it. You're not going to spend a lot of time, but some. And then you're going to follow these directions here. And you're going to write to me and let me know how you're going to approach that topic. Okay? And then you're going to send that in to me, 1 page. And then my job as professor will be to write you back and let you know if you in fact received that topic. And then class, we can have some, in the week ahead or so, we'll have an opportunity where I'll have like a live question and answer session, usually on a Friday, where you can come on, and I'll set that up most probably for next week, Friday, and you can ask me questions about anything. But right now, I'll send this out tomorrow. And your job is to give a 1-page, just overall summary of what you think you want to do for your oral presentation. My job is to look at it, make recommendations, and to get you to sign off on it. Now, say there's a bunch of students who want to do the same one. That doesn't happen often. But my job is I will take care of you, and once you have signed up and we have signed off for your oral presentation, that will be yours. Then it will be your job to once again go ahead and start researching that and start working towards that oral presentation. Okay? Then when the time comes during that week, you will upload it to YouTube. You will send it to every member of the class, or you will send it to me, and I will send it to the class, and then we'll all watch it. And then I will take detail, once again, notes that will justify your grade. And then when you get your grade from me, you will get an evaluation. And we'll talk more about this in the future, but I just wanted to get you started, all right? Moving in this direction. Now, so that's 3 possibilities for 3 students. Altogether, I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 possibilities. Okay, we don't have that many students in the class, but we have close. So there'll be 16, 17 possibilities. March 29th, according to on our course policies and calendar, Franz Kafka, which we're going to be studying. Now, during that week, students will have the opportunity. Each student, one student can make a presentation if they wish. Franz Kafka, The Metamorphosis, his great book. Kafka, Historical Perspective. So you take that title, Franz Kafka, Historical Perspective, Perspectives, and you go, for example, and start looking up Kafka and what was going on with history, how Kafka was, say, influenced by history, how his work influenced history, how he was shaped literature-wise in regards to history. So you get a wide breadth of how you want to approach things under Franz Kafka and historical perspectives. And then that week also, if a student wants, they can do an oral presentation called Franz Kafka Recent Scholarship. By recent, I don't know, we can talk about that. I don't know, maybe the last decade. The bottom line, there will be a lot out there because there's always someone publishing books, there's someone digging in, someone finding new letters. Sometimes scholars find unpublished work. Once again, sometimes the work being adapted for the cinema, maybe for plays. Sometimes some of these writers will, they'll find poems in their collected papers. So Franz Kafka, Recent Scholarship. Good. Now, next week after that, April 5th through 9th on the course policies and calendar, the Great Virginia Woolf. Okay? Someone could do Virginia Woolf a biography. Someone's world could do a presentation called Virginia Woolf, A Woman's Progress. So you could take a title like Virginia Woolf, A Woman's Progress, and dig in. How much research is out there on Woolf? It's never ending. A Woman's Progress. Class, she made a lot of progress for women. Okay? She's the one who talked about a woman needed a place of her own to do her own work. She is the one who sold books with her husband. She is the one who wrote these seminal novels that are very challenging at times, but unforgettable too. She's very influential in women's rights. Virginia Woolf, A Woman's Progress. And then Virginia Woolf, another title on here, A Room of One's Own. Give us a 15 to 20 minute presentation just talking about that, the history of that, what has happened with A Room of One's Own, what was in Woolf's own room, okay? How she has influenced other women. Paid a high price. Woolf committed suicide, but she's not the only writer, once again, who ever has. There has been many of them. But of course, one of the things, and as we get further into the class, the good thing to know is as a writer or a student of writer, none of us have to, once again, commit suicide, as Virginia Woolf did. But what an incredible woman. Class, April 12th to 16th, Betty Smith. Somebody could do a presentation on Betty Smith, a biography. Okay, and that would be, once again, a look into the overall of her life. Betty Smith, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Once again, the big story of the, one of the stories of what? The immigrant experience. Okay, or the experience of Brooklyn, New York, or in that one anyway, aspects of Irish Americans in Brooklyn. One thing that's universal for Americans is, you know, the experience of being the immigrant. And class, don't let anybody ever tell you differently. We're all immigrants. Some of us are closer, have a closer immigrant experience, like closer to the old country, right? All right. So, as for example, I'm a first generation American because my mother was from Ireland, all right? Some of you are pretty close, or could be, I don't know, but pretty close to Mexico, right? Some of you may be Mexican nationalists or from somewhere else. All right, but we're all immigrants in America one way or another. Some of us are closer to the immigrant experience. Some of us are further away. Betty Smith, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, April 12th to 16th. Betty Smith on Language and Place. So you would take that title, Betty Smith on Language and Place, and run with it. And be thinking, wow, what could possibly be done with this title? What is Welsh talking about? Once again, I'm here to help you with these things. And then you take Betty Smith on Language and Place, you run it through this. See, this is very tight here on what I'm expecting of you. Every sentence is here is important. These are the directions. All right? And once again, we'll have like next week a question and answer session for a couple hours. I'll let you know well ahead of time. Boom. We'll be live on Zoom, or what do we get? There's some platform through the college. I forget what it's called. But I'll let you know, and you can ask me questions. And you know, and I like talking to students. I like teaching in person, but you know, we're not doing that now, so that makes this class different. It is what it is, class. We're in a pandemic. Class. Betty Smith on Language and Place, right? You talk about her work, talk about her use of language, talk about her use of diving into place. So important. Setting, etc., etc. Class, then, April 19th to 23rd, it says on our course policies and calendar, what are we going to do that week? The great Native American writer Leslie Marmon Silko and James Baldwin, two seminal American writers in world literature, okay? Still reverberate today strongly, Silko and Baldwin, all right? The opportunity on the 19th to the 23rd, Leslie Marmon Silko, Leslie Marmon Silko and Her World. So you take that title and dive in, Her World. You do some research, you look it up, you go to the library, you hit up Google as an intro, these other places. You start thinking, you know what, I can talk about that world. I can talk about the world of, say, for example, in Silko, the whole idea of being on the reservation and off the reservation, right? On the res, off the res. In America, in the Pueblo, off the Pueblo, right? Important. Someone else will have an opportunity to do a oral presentation on her book, Yellow Woman, all right? And then James Baldwin, Notes of a Native Son, the great seminal book by important African-American artists, writers of this country. Then finally, the last week or the last opportunity for our exams, James Baldwin in history, and then someone could do an overview of Salman Rushdie, a biography on his life. So class, I'll send these out to you tomorrow. I'll most probably post this video tomorrow, so this will come out too. The sign-up sheet. Your job, start thinking about it. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? One-page summary of what you're going to do, double space. I don't want you doing a ton of work until I sign off officially on your presentation. So I'll look at your pitch, I'll offer suggestions, I'll send it back to you. You're going to send me these pitches on, write this down right now, you're going to send these to me on, these are going to be due a week from today on the 26th of Monday. And remember, just it's a rough idea what you want to do. You'll send it to me. I'll go over it. I'll get them back to you. I'll approve it. We'll get you signed up for a date and a time. And then you can spend your time once again preparing for this oral presentation, right? And then when I'm watching your oral presentation, that the rest of the class will watch too, we'll upload it for the rest of the class so they can see it 15 to 20 minutes. Class, and I want you to use those 15 to 20 minutes. I've had students before do some incredible oral presentations. Occasionally, class, I've seen some lousy ones. Lousy oral presentation is when a student gives me 3 minutes or gives us 3 minutes. You can't digest a lot of 3 minutes. So, 15 to 20 minutes. When I'm watching it, I take notes. When I give you your grade, I'll send you back exactly a written evaluation of how you earned your grade. All right? So, class, be thinking about it. You know, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I'll send this. And remember, once again, the due date. Write it right now down on your course policies and calendars. I have it right here. I've written it down. This is my annotated course policies and calendar. You're going to send these to me on Monday the 22nd, week from today. Gives you some time. And then class, once again, don't flip out. Just be thinking about it, and then I'll help you. And then once again, once we get it signed up and you're signed in and down, I'll expect it at that time. So, very good. That's where we are. All right. Now, let's talk a little more about Jonathan Swift. I gave you some questions last time for the great Gulliver's Travels in our textbook, our annotated textbook that I have here from Gulliver's Travels, Part 4, A Voyage to the Country of the Hunnemans. All right? Fantastic piece of writing. So, Swift, we talked about, the great satirist, dealing with irony. I gave you background to his life, who he was, how I studied him, even a modern journalism class many years ago as an undergraduate. He's funny. He can write. He's smart. He commentates on the times. He commentates on politics. He commentates on what's going on, commentaries on what's going on in the world, class. And I gave you some questions. Now, one of the questions I gave you is, what is significant about the faults Gulliver's Hunneman master finds with Gulliver's physical condition in Gulliver's Travels? And that was part 4, once again, chapter 4. So if we were in class, we'd be having a dialectic right now. You'd be talking and answering questions. I'd be listening to you. But we're not in class. So that's all right. So I'll give you some illumination to these answers. You can pull out your answers, see what, once again, class, see what you had in regards to these. Now, what is the significant about the faults Gulliver's Hunneman master finds with Gulliver's physical condition in Gulliver's Travels, Part 4, Chapter 4. So, once again, in our text, in our book, in the answer that I wrote down and scribbled down in my notes is, in the Hunneman master's opinion, Gulliver is even less suited for survival than the yahoos of his island. His skin is pale and soft, unsuited for exposure to sunlight. So there, once again, we have the seeker out in the foreign land, in a place that, may not be able to make it in this fiction. His nails are useless for digging or grasping anything, while the island yahoos have long nails for use in defense and digging, right? So, Gulliver, no. He requires shoes in order to walk on the rough ground, something neither the Yahoos nor the Hunnemans need. They don't need shoes, class, but Gulliver does, because he's a tenderfoot. Gulliver requires clothing to protect him from the heat and cold. Another item neither the Yahoos or the Hunnemans appear to need. They don't need that. They're part of their life. Furthermore, the necessity of clothing means that Gulliver must expend time and energy each day to dress and undress. Most importantly, the Yahoos are detested by all other creatures, and the master cannot see how a sense of reason could help the Europeans overcome the general sense of ill will. With all of these problems, the master finds it difficult to believe Gulliver and his kind are able to rule their own country or exercise dominion over other creatures. It is noteworthy that the very things that mark Gulliver as a European, pale skin, shoes, and clothing, are the very things that make him seem vulnerable and useless to the Hunnemans. So fascinating, once again. The human being being useless to these other creatures because becoming weak and soft. Class, another question that I gave you is, how does Gulliver feel about war based on his comments in Gulliver's Travels, Part 4, once again, Chapter 5? Gulliver describes the causes of war as based on differences of opinion, and he alludes to the numerous disagreements between Catholics and Protestants that sparked numerous conflicts throughout the century before his travels. Okay. So, in some ways, he kind of makes fun of war and its reason for being. And a lot of times, not really sure of the necessity of it whatsoever, especially the war that he saw and thought about for generations of religious wars, right? Okay. Jonathan Swift. Class, how does Gulliver feel about the next question I gave you? How does Gulliver feel about the justice system based on his comments in Gulliver's Travels, Part 4, Chapter 5? So, the justice system, class. Gulliver's contempt for lawyers is evident as he explains his only knowledge of law is based on the lawyers he has hired in vain to defend him against injustices. So he hires lawyers to defend him against injustices, and it doesn't really work out that well. He describes lawyers as a group of men bred to argue by words multiplied for the purpose that white is black and black is white. Okay, so that's funny. He's being funny. A group of men bred to argue by words multiplied for the purpose that white is black and black is white. In saying this, he means that through use of complicated language and obfuscation, so trying to hide and make things kind of cloudy and not understandable, lawyers construct arguments that have no relationship to truth or reality. Gulliver provides an example concerning ownership of a cow to show that the system itself places him at a disadvantage because his adversary's lawyer has mastery over creating false arguments, and his lawyer must retain the favor of the court, which is headed by a judge who used to be a lawyer himself. Gulliver's accounting of the law and workings of the court implied that he has been burned in disputes. He later calls lawyers, quote unquote, the most ignorant and stupid generation among us, the most despicable in common conversation, avowed enemies to all knowledge and learning. He has no confidence that courts of law are interested in anything resembling justice. So fascinating. So one of the things, if we're in class, I would ask you as the students, or I'm asking now, how true is this now? Or is this still true? Okay. And then I'd let my students, you can be thinking about this, think of examples. How true is it? Once again, now. Courts of law are not interested in anything resembling justice. And I think it can be it could be argued either way, class. Certainly, I don't know. I think they are, but at times, certainly, it seems like they're not. Sometimes, especially is in the American legal system, say, for example, sometimes it sure helps or can sway things about how much money you have, or what team of lawyers you have, or how rich you are to get the best lawyers possible. We're always knowing stories of sometimes people that would get sent up for prison terms that maybe certainly wouldn't have such prison terms if they had a fleet of lawyers by their side. And then people getting off who really shouldn't be getting off. Okay? I don't think anybody can argue with that. Class, finally, in Gulliver's Travels, Part 4, Chapter 6, how does Gulliver present wealth as an overarching evil in society? Okay, so he's talking about the accumulation of wealth in society. How is it evil? Okay, fascinating. Things that we're certainly, as with the justice system, still dealing with today, are as relevant now. Aspects of it. Same with as we see a capitalistic society, or our society in general, and the accumulation of wealth. Class. Trade and the colonization and exploitation that comes with it results from the wealthy demanding new and exotic goods from different parts of the world. Even though domestic goods could easily serve the same purpose, most people, Gulliver observes, end up working to serve the needs of the wealthy. Wow, all right? Ask yourself, is this true? Most people, Gulliver observes, end up working to serve the needs of the wealthy, either through providing direct services or engaging in trade or supporting those who do. Essentially, society is constructed to cater to the needs and desires of the rich. What do you think about that, class? I can't say whether it's right or wrong, but it certainly is a point of view. Essentially, society is constructed to cater to the needs and desires of the rich. This setup, Gulliver contends, also leads large numbers of people to resort to begging or crime if they are unable to make ends meet. Through legitimate means. So, is that true? Okay. How do you see it? Fascinating. Is this true nowadays? Is it still being debated nowadays? Yes. Is it still relevant nowadays? Yes. That's one of the beautiful things in studying literature. Once again, this is all relevant. The services provided for the rich may include legal pursuits such as prostitution and gambling. Essentially, society is constructed to cater to the needs and desires of the rich. This setup, once again, Gulliver contends, also leads large numbers of people to resort to begging or crime if they are unable to make ends meet through legitimate means. I believe we see that. I believe we see that even today. So, society, culture, class, language, colonization, all once again dealt with in Jonathan Swift's wonderful Gulliver's Travels. All right? So good. So those are some things to keep thinking about as you continue. Remember, class, that we are still into Swift and the work in our book on him. Remember that, once again, read it all. And then next week, at the end, we'll start moving into the great Voltaire, okay, who I read and studied as a young man and as a not so young man, but we'll talk about that then. We're not there yet. One of the great books that I ever read in my 20s when I was at, I can't remember, I wasn't at the community college, I think I was at the university, and I read Voltaire's Candide. Incredible novel. Still resonates with me today on about the search, and the search for enlightenment, and the search for exploration, and Candide, all the problems he faced trying to find what? Himself, or trying to find a life, or trying to find enlightenment, or trying to find just what it is to be human, right? What it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, right? What's this journey all about that literature certainly helps us with, So, class, there we are. So, once again, oral presentations. I will send this to you. Pick one. Once again, pick one. Start digging in. Then by the 22nd or on the 22nd, you will send me once again just a one-page, double-spaced summary of what you're thinking you're going to do. And then I'll look over it, and then we'll have a live session. I'll answer any questions, and we'll continue moving through the semester. Class, very good. So with that said, I hope that you've enjoyed the snow, and that you're doing all right, and that your family is safe and sane, and that we're getting through this. All right, class, one day at a time. And with that said, class, I will leave you until the next time. Good luck, good luck, good luck, as the Irish always tell people. I'm wishing you well. Good luck with your studies at the community college, and good luck with your journey into world literature. Take care, class, until the next time.